listening to Delmarva Live on 92.7 WGMD. I'm sure you have heard the news stories surrounding the employee at the Mountaire Farms in Dagsboro, literally just right down the road from where we're broadcasting from right now. An employee by the name of Oscar Cruz Sosa, who submitted a petition back in 2020 with signatures from enough of his coworkers at the Dagsboro Mountaire plant to decertify their union. Staff attorneys at the NLRB helped Cruz Sosa defend the petition before the NLRB and also helped Cruz Sosa challenge the contract bar, a non-statutory NLRB policy which blocks workers from exercising their right to vote out union bosses they oppose for up to 3 years after management and union officials broker a contract. Well, let's find out what's happened, because the regime in Washington, this was a done deal. But a real stinky deal has taken place, and we're going to let our good friend Mark Mix, the president of the National Right to Work Foundation, tell us what's happened. And Mark, sounds to me that this is an outrage.
Yeah, it is an outrage. While First State Chevrolet takes care of their customers very well, the National Labor Relations Board doesn't take care of any customers unless they're union officials. And the results of this battle up at the Mountaire plant are really, really discouraging, Jake. I mean, discouraging to the point where you get mad about it, because the workers there, all they asked for was the exercise of their rights to throw a union out that wasn't representing them. And a regional director at the National Labor Relations Board agreed that they could go forward with the election. The election was held. The votes were cast. The votes were impounded pending an NLRB decision, and just last week, the NLRB said that those votes should be thrown out. They won't be counted. They overruled the regional director. The election is as if it never happened, and those workers are now bound and forced to pay union dues and fees to keep their jobs, even though they were voting to try to get rid of that union. The board won't let that happen, and now they've got to wait for the next window period of the contract bar to actually exercise their rights in the workplace. It is outrageous and appalling.
So the Demcoms have been successful in corrupting our election system, and now they have corrupted the voting system at the NLRB. Is that basically the correct assessment, Mark?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, apparently they don't care about these votes from workers that are cast. These votes are easily disposed of immediately upon giving union officials the power to force these people and continue to force them into these forced associations. It really is amazing. You know, the general counsel that was fired by President Biden 23 minutes into his administration, right, and was replaced by a guy from Chicago, the acting general counsel went into the National Labor Relations Board and took the brief from the previous general counsel, basically upholding what had happened and favoring the opinion that these workers ought to get their vote, and said, I want to take that brief out so that our office has no opinion on this anymore in front of the board. I mean, this is about what power. This is the exercise of power, and they understand it. And union officials are the only beneficiaries of this work. The workers they claim to represent are left out with their votes destroyed.
So the NLRB should really be the National Union Relations Board, right? Because it doesn't do anything to represent labor if they don't want to be represented by a union, which they clearly see as corrupt, right?
Yeah, that's right, and there's evidence of that again as this Biden transition occurred. The acting general counsel that came in and replaced the currently serving general counsel, who had 10 months left on his term, in an unprecedented move to be fired. It's never happened before. He went in and issued a memorandum to all the regions across the nation, saying that he was withdrawing memorandums that had been submitted by the previous general counsel. They withdrew 9 memorandums, Jake, and 4 of those memorandums were about cases that we were currently involved in, helping employees exercise their rights under the national labor law. And they are so focused on forced unionism that they wouldn't let these cases go forward, and they were immediately withdrawn when this acting general counsel took his position.
Well, this is payback, clear and plain and simple. I mean, this plan was obviously submitted to the regime before they took office by the union bosses. The fact that the union boss overall comes from Chicago, gee, what a surprise. But the last time I had you on the show, Mark, you were pretty certain that those votes would be counted and the union at the Mountaire plant in Dagsboro would, in fact, be decertified. You must have been as surprised as anyone that the corruption that the Bidens have brought to Washington has extended to votes that have already been cast by workers.
Yeah, Jake, and I apologize for being wrong on that, but everything was looking like these employees were going to be able to exercise their rights under the act, and I was absolutely stunned, Jake, when the decision came down. The employer, the NLRB attorney that we have here on staff that was litigating the case on behalf of these workers over there said this is the day that the NLRB dies when it comes to employee rights. I mean, it literally was a stunning decision by this board and by this general counsel trying to, push them in a direction by withdrawing the brief that supported the position of the workers. I mean, it really is sad, and we're just going to have to go back at it and continue fighting. Jake, we've been kicked around over here at Right to Work for a long time. We've won lots of great battles on behalf of employees, but the fight continues, and it's going to continue. I mean, you saw yesterday the president made this cabinet-level commission to promote unionism in the private sector and the public sector. It's going to be run by the Vice President of the United States, Kamala Harris, and their goal is to basically unionize everybody in the private sector and unionize everybody in the public sector, saying that this is what the intentions of the act were to begin with, to force people into unions. It's outrageous.
The issue with the Mountaire plant in Dagsboro is also, I think, an American cultural issue, because most of these workers here are minorities. They're immigrants that have come here from other countries, primarily those south of the border. They've come to this country. They've seen that they have freedoms to say whether they want to be represented by a union or not, whether they like the union or they don't. They have the right to say yes or no to union representation. They followed the law. They voted, and they probably would have decertified that union. But what does this say to the cultural issues now about what America is like? The fact that big, connected union bosses are now calling the shots in how our union representation system goes. That's not a really good thing for immigrants to see, is it?
No, not at all. And most of these people are working to feed their families and put food on the table, and be here and be able to live in America, in a country they believe to be free, but then they run up against a bureaucracy and they run up against an administration that has other ideas about what they're going to be able to do and how they're going to be able to act and what they're going to be able to do legally in the workplace. I mean, it really is a frustrating thing. And for us here at Right to Work at our foundation, we represent, we got 250 active cases right now on behalf of literally thousands of employees across the country. This particular one, to your point, I mean, these are people that are just trying to make a living and trying to make it in a land that they're attracted to because of its freedom and individual rights. And
right, that's what I'm saying. I mean, they are learning about the American system here, but not in a good way, are they?
Exactly. And we're going to keep fighting, Jake. We have to keep fighting, and hopefully when the next window period opens, these workers can tee it up again, and I'm sure there'll be ways that the union will object. And of course, there's still ongoing complaints against Mountaire for not turning over information about our client, what door he entered in, what time he went in, what days he went in. I mean, it's the intimidation and the coercion in this system is really coming to the forefront now, and Biden and his administration are going to use that to enhance the power of union officials, not workers, but union officials.
So you have no other road or avenue from a legal perspective to appeal this case. This is a done deal then, right?
That's right. There is no review of the NLRB decision here. There are some cases that the NLRB takes and makes decisions that are able, and you're able to enter federal court on appeal, but not this one. The General Counsel of the National Labor Relations Board has unreviewable discretion in his decisions, and the board, in representational questions like this, basically that's the end of the road. So there is no appeal. This is it. Those votes have been trashed. They've been burned. Maybe they're outside in a dumpster somewhere out here in Washington, D.C. I'm not sure where they are, but they're not going to be counted, and that's outrageous.
If you could say anything to the Mountaire Farms employees who might be listening to this broadcast right now, Mark, what would it be?
We want to help you. We still want to help you, and we'll keep fighting for you. And if you have the courage to stand up, which you did in the first place, we have the courage and we have the means to stand with you and help you in this fight.
And let's not also lose sight of the fact that the union got nasty with Mr. Sosa, correct? Wasn't there some pushback against Mr. Sosa?
Yeah, they filed complaints and intimidated him by requesting Mountaire give up his private information about when he was accessing the plant. They said they needed it for representational purposes, Jake. They have between 800 and 1,000 employees over there, and they needed information about one employee for representational purposes. This is the kind of legal schemes these people dream up, and it's not pretty, and it's not good for workers. It's not good for the country.
Well, the Mountaire Farms, there normally is a kind of a smell associated with their processing over there. I thought it smelled a little worse this morning, and now I know why, given what's going on over there. It's really sad. It really is, Mark.
Yeah. Well, Jake, thank you for keeping people informed on it. This is the only way we can fight back on this stuff is that people know about the injustices as they occur, and you've done that, and I appreciate it. And frankly, we'll keep you posted on what's next. And while this is a final close on this chapter of this particular battle, there'll be others, and hopefully you and I can talk about it and make sure that people out there and your listening area know about it as well.
Mark, thank you very much for updating us on the NLRB ruling with respect to the decision of them to disregard and toss out votes by employees to decertify that union. Mark Mix, the president of National Right to Work Foundation. Mark, my friend, thank you so much, and I suppose we'll be talking in the very near future.
Thanks, Jake.
Thank you. You're listening to Delmarva Live on 92.7 WGMD, WGMD.com, and via your WGMD app.